guys, it's Cece, and I have no idea if this filming location is going to stay the same. I'm having kind of a hard time in this room figuring out where there is no glare. There are a lot of windows, which is great, but also a lot of glare because glasses. So I'm testing things out, and basically don't be surprised if things change in the future. So what do you guys think of this current filming location? Good? Bad? Probably need to put some stuff over there on top of that bookshelf, but look at all the shelf space I have. Isn't that great? Anyway, I've allowed myself this long an intro because this is my August wrap-up. And to be honest with you guys, in comparison to my personal reading, this month wasn't my best. I read 7 things total, which is great, and I'm still super proud of 7 things, but in comparison to my last 2 months, my 14 and 15 thing reading months, it's just a little lower than normal. Those 7 books included 2 rereads, 2 trade paperbacks, 1 play, and 2 YA novels, I believe. But anyway, let's just get into it, and I'm going to tell you all of the things that I read in August, maybe with a little more detail than I usually get to go into. So, the very first thing I read in August was a reread, and that was the Battle of the Labyrinth, Book 4 in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series by Riordan. I don't have a ton to say about this book. I really enjoyed it, but it was a reread and it's the 4th in a series, so I can't really tell you the plot of it. In case you don't know, the Percy Jackson series is all about Greek mythology, and it's about these kids who discover they are demigods, which means they are half god, half mortal, and that makes them heroes, and they go on quests and stuff. It is a really, really fun middle grade series, and I've been rereading them in preparation for reading the series that is in the same world, the Heroes of Olympus series, so yeah. I really, really enjoyed this one, as I have really enjoyed reading the first 3 over again. This definitely still got a 4-star for me, just like it did originally. I appreciate the fact that book 4 is where it starts to age up slightly, which is kind of fun, like more relationship drama starts to happen. That doesn't really happen in the first couple because they're 12 when the books start. But you know, once they're getting into being 15, 16 years old, there's a little bit more relationship drama, and I really enjoy that. There is a love triangle kind of in this series that I completely forgot happened, but I actually don't mind it that much in this series. I don't think it's that dramatic of a love triangle, and I think it's handled fairly well. But yeah, still enjoyed this one. Still definitely a 4-star read for me. Next, I read Kingdom Come by Mark Waid and Alex Ross. This was a trade that was given to me by a friend. He pushed it on me and he was like, you know how you're always asking for more complexity with Superman? Read this. I am not huge on superhero comics. I enjoy comics, but I'm not really into like DC, Marvel, superhero comics, and it's funny because I read 2 of them this month. Kingdom Come takes place in the DC universe, and it takes place in a future where there have been, you know, the Justice League. There's been this League of Heroes, but they've kind of aged out, and a majority of them have stopped being heroes, and so now that the world is run by these descendants of heroes who don't care nearly as much about common people. They just kind of care about being heroes, and it's about the old Justice League kind of coming back and reasserting peace and, you know, working with the government more than they used to. And I will say that because I was asking for more complexity from Superman, who's a character I'm just, having only seen movies, I haven't enjoyed as much. This was good from that perspective, but other than that, I didn't super enjoy it. I just think I don't love superhero comics. This book was super heavy on like end of the world mythology. It's all told from the point of view of this, I'm not remembering now, pastor perhaps, and he's having visions of the end of the world, and this guy is like leading him through what's happening, and he just kind of gets to witness how the world is coming to an end. Weirdly heavy on that mythology. But I enjoyed some of the complexity of the superheroes. It just overall wasn't for me, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. After that was yet another reread. I finished off the Percy Jackson series with the last Olympian. I enjoyed this book so much. I upped its star rating from previously. I gave it like a 4.5 to a 5. I don't know if critically it's worth a 5-star, but I just think it's such a wonderful conclusion to the series, and I enjoyed reading it so thoroughly. I said this on Goodreads while I was reading it, but I love the fact that this book, you're built up for 4 books being told that there's going to be this huge battle. It's going to be a very big deal when they get there. And I appreciate the fact that this book dedicates almost its entirety to that battle. It doesn't half-ass it, and I thought that was really nice. Relationship stuff was great, friendship stuff was great. I think that the stakes were really high. It was so wonderful to see how much the characters had grown, and I adored finishing off this series. I'm so glad that I got the chance to reread this summer, because I definitely didn't remember enough of the details, and I super appreciated them. Next up, I read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is a play by Jack Thorne. I'd be shocked if you hadn't heard about this. I already did a full 25-minute spoilery discussion video, so if you're curious for more of my thoughts, go watch that. But basically, I really didn't like this play. I had a lot of issues with the character development of characters that we had, from the Harry Potter series. I was really frustrated that this is being listed as the 8th Harry Potter. I just feel like some more distance from the series could have really benefited this play, because accepting it as the 8th Harry Potter story when it's in a totally different format, it's about these characters so many years later, I just feel like that definitely made the reception harder. But beyond that, I just didn't really like what it did to the characters, I didn't like the ways that it forgave abuse, and I was really frustrated with the queer baiting. If you want more of my spoilery thoughts, again, go watch my discussion video, but overall, I gave this play 2 stars. Next up, I read another trade paperback, and that was Young Avengers Volume 1, Style Over Substance, by Kieron, Gillen, Jamie McKelvie, and Mike Norton. I just got this one kind of randomly from the library. I saw it. I'd been kind of curious about the Young Avengers series because I heard that there were multiple queer characters, so I picked it up. I have been told that maybe I shouldn't have jumped into this one without reading any of the previous Young Avengers comics, which I respect, I get that, but I had seen other people do it, so I just figured it was okay. I don't know if it worked. I felt very confused for a while about a lot of the things that were going on. Young Avengers is a comic series kind of about the descendants of certain superheroes. Kind of. I don't fully know who everyone's parents are still at this point. Like I said, I was confused. I do appreciate the fact that this was a more diverse take on superheroes and such. Like, the 2 main characters are gay men and they are in a relationship. One of the main characters is Latina, and she actually has 2 moms. In general, I really appreciated that level of diversity. It was so cool to see that included within a superhero story. But I feel like if this was intended to be able, if you were supposed to be able to read this without any prior knowledge of Young Avengers, it just doesn't work. As a warning, I'd be really curious to continue on with the series and see what else happens, what else grows, maybe read up on some of the previous Young Avengers, stuff. But overall, I gave this one a 3.5 star. It was good, it was interesting, but I just felt a little bit lost in the story. Next up, we have This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This Savage Song takes place in a future world where violence has begun to breed actual monsters, and whenever some kind of violent act is perpetrated, a monster is created. And the degree of monster depends on the degree of the crime. The monsters in this world are the Corsai, the Malachi, and the Sunai. We have 2 main characters in this book. One is a boy named August Flynn. He is a Sunai, he's a monster, but he has a desire to be human, and he really, really fights his monstrous nature. And the other lead character is a girl named Kate Harker. She's a human, but she has a desire to be more monstrous. What's really interesting about this book is that, especially near the beginning, it read a lot like a dystopian. It had all of these elements that just, to me, read so strongly like a dystopian, and I haven't read one of those in a while. I feel like I read so many so quickly when I was younger that I'm kind of dystopianed out, so it took me a little bit to get invested in the story and the characters in this book. But once you got about halfway through, I think it took off in such a way that it made it really interesting and highly readable. Once I got to that point, I couldn't put it down. I would just devour pages and pages, and all of a sudden I would be 100 pages later and I would have no idea where the time went, which is awesome. I love when a book can do that. This was my first experience reading Victoria Schwab when she's writing for young adults, and I just don't feel like it worked as well as the writing that I've read by her for adults. Vicious and A Darker Shade of Magic were both 5-star reads for me, and This Savage Song was a solidly 4-star book. I just feel like her writing style didn't translate quite as well to young adult, and sometimes I think it got a little strong on the poetic descriptions. I love a good poetic description, but it went a little intense sometimes. But I loved the depiction of music, and I loved the relationship between Kate and August, because the thing is that this book has no romance. She's promised that there isn't going to be a romance between these two characters, and it was so cool because you could see exactly the moments where usually young adult authors would have chosen to make romantic things happen, and that didn't happen. It was all friendship based, and that was so fantastic to see. I wish that it would have gotten started a little faster, and I think that it could have been done slightly better, but the last half really sold me on the book in general. I am so excited for book 2 in the duology, which is our Dark Duet. And like I said, I definitely gave this book a 4-star. And the last book that I read in August was Keeping Her Secret by Sarah Nicolas. This is a young adult contemporary. It was just released, and it is about ladies loving ladies. Basically, there are these two girls, Rhea and Courtney, and when they were younger, they were best friends, and then Rhea kissed Courtney, Courtney ran away, and they haven't seen each other in 4 years. And then Rhea goes to summer camp, she picks a bunk, she's the last person there, and who should she be bunking with but Courtney. Gay ladies at summer camp, it's my fave. This book is super cheesy. It's just a happy, tropey, romantic book between Courtney and Rhea. Rhea is openly and insistently bisexual, which was really cool to see. I always appreciate when that is in books, and when that discussion is in books, she explains it really fast to someone who doesn't understand that bisexuality is a thing. She's fully supported by her family and her new friends, and that was really cool. Additionally, Rhea is half Indian, and so there wasn't a huge discussion on her race, but it's always fascinating to see depictions of queer women of color, so I appreciated that. Like I said, I think that this book got a little too tropey and over the top for me at times. I'm not a really big romance reader, but I'm a lot more willing to read it if it's two ladies, obviously. I knew the ending, I knew exactly what was gonna happen within the first 20 pages, but sometimes that's really fun. So if you do just want a ridiculously happy, fun story about two ladies falling in love, then this is a pretty good book to read. It came out last month, and you can go check it out. I wound up giving it about 3 stars, but I think that if you kind of just take your mind out of it and appreciate the fun romance, then you'll really like it. Okay guys, there you go. That is my wrap up for August. I hope you appreciated hearing my thoughts about all of these books. Let me know in the comments below some of your favorite books that you read last month, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you in another video real soon. Bye!